Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Francisco Lugo. I'm currently serving as the Director of Fraternity Sorority Life. So just to kind of premise this presentation, this is really more of a 30,000 foot level orientation overview of the fraternity sorority community here at Georgia Southern. So next week we will be having 3 different presentations that are going to be more specifically designed to really go into each council or each chapter. So we can definitely share that information with you all as we move forward as well. So just know that. So this one is specifically designed for parents to really dive a little bit deeper into the things that you all want to know from a parent's perspective, not solely from a student perspective. So just wanted to make sure that we put that in perspective as you hear us go through this presentation. A couple things: if there's any questions and concerns, feel free to use the chat function to ask us questions, and we'll get those as we get towards the end of the presentation. And then if you at any time have any questions, concerns towards the end, like I said, we'll have enough time to allocate for you all to ask those questions. So just make sure that you just unmute yourself, and then we can definitely go from there. So with that said, I'm going to allow my staff to introduce themselves, and then we're all going to go ahead and get started.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Donato and I am the Assistant Director.
Hi everyone, my name is Zita Toth-Gaddis and I am one of the graduate assistants.
So one of the things that we do here as an office is really to advocate for the fraternity and sorority experience on this campus. So one of our main tenets or beliefs is that joining one of our chapters is one of the premier leadership experiences on a college campus today. I think if we look at everything that our chapters do from throughout the semester, throughout the year, they really hit all these things that we definitely want them to hit. And what we also know is that those that are invested in this experience do better off when it comes to grades and when it comes to graduation rates too, right? So we also know that we are also retaining these students at a higher rate. So the main thing that we emphasize is that, again, we value this experience, but this experience needs to be done right. And that's where we come as an office to really make sure that our students understand what that really looks like, and to address any issues as they come up moving forward throughout their tenure here at Georgia Southern, so they can understand really what's at stake, because at the end of the day, it's an experience that's worthwhile, but it takes some work in order to make it happen correctly. So when it comes to this slide, again, it's just our current staff. So right now we have 2 professionals in the office. So mainly Laura and I oversee the entire community on both campuses. Then we have 2 graduate assistants. One of them is here with us, Zita, that really also assist in that process. So these are the people that you will be interacting, or your son and daughter will be interacting as they move forward within our community here at Georgia Southern. So again, just know that these are the people that you can go out and ask questions. All our information is on our website. So feel free to reach out to us, and we will definitely do our best to address any questions or concerns that you might have.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about our office core values. And so this is really what we hold our students accountable to as well. And so academics is one of our main focus. You're here, your student is here for college education, and so that should be their primary focus when coming to Georgia Southern. So we hold our students to a higher standard as well, and we'll talk about that with some of our membership requirements too. So coming in with that GPA, and again, we'll go over in the next couple of slides with our community academic report as well. We offer tons of leadership opportunities from within fraternity and sorority life. So anything from the chapter perspective to the council perspective, there's all types of leadership opportunities. Again, really that brotherhood and sisterhood. So what a lot of your students are joining an organization for. And then that civic engagement piece. So giving back to the community. So is that on Georgia Southern or in the Savannah-Statesboro area or the larger country as a whole? So we really push these core values within our organizations to make sure that they're striving to meet those goals. And again, so our office is really special because we have two communities with endless possibilities. And so we are located at Statesboro and Armstrong. I am the staff member that is primarily at Armstrong. So I am located in the Memorial College Center, and Francisco and Zita are located in the Russell Union at Statesboro. Statesboro's campus has 3 governing councils with IFC, our National Panhellenic Council, and our Panhellenic Council. And so there's 32 chapters that make up about 16% of the student population. And of those 32 chapters, we have 20 fraternities and 12 sororities. At Armstrong, we have 3 governing councils as well. We have the Panhellenic Council, the Interfraternity Council, and our Multicultural Greek Council. We have 10 chapters total, which make up about 4% of the student population, and 4 fraternities and 6 sororities.
So as Laura kind of hinted on with that academic component, academics really are the main priority and the reason why our students are at Georgia Southern. So we provide this information, kind of a breakdown of each of the council GPAs to sort of give students a better understanding of where they are relative to each other and how they are doing within the community. So as you can see, these GPAs are based on the most recent grade report, which was released in this past spring semester. And we do that grade report released each semester, just again, so that people can have sort of an understanding of where they are, where they might need to improve. And then we also offer a lot of resources from the office perspective, from that academic standpoint. So if chapters are falling below a certain minimum, we have an academic policy that we can use to kind of help guide them to the right track, and making sure that chapters are also providing each of their members with the appropriate resources for addressing any shortfalls.
So looking at that eligibility piece, and this is the part where we'll talk about that GPA requirement. So all incoming freshman students must have a high school GPA of 2.75 or higher. That's calculated by the Office of Admissions. We do not make exceptions to this, again, because we hold our students to a higher standard with academics. So that is the minimum GPA that incoming freshmen needs to have. We encourage all of the students to check their GPA with the Office of Admissions, the status check page, to make sure that you've got that minimum GPA. Because if your student is registering for our Panhellenic or our IFC recruitments, there's a fee, and that's non-refundable if you don't make grades. Students who are coming in with 12 college credits or more must have a 2.5 overall institutional GPA. And sometimes that can be a little confusing because some students may have a better semester GPA than they do for the overall. And so we're looking at the overall institutional GPA. Again, our admissions liaison is Aubrey. She's super awesome. If you have questions about that, that is the contact to reach out to her if you are unsure about maybe where your GPA is at. So she's a great resource. For our students that are participating in Statesboro Panhellenic recruitment only, you must complete SOAR 1000 prior to Friday, July 31st, in order to participate in Panhellenic recruitment. And just an overall statement about our eligibility for joining. We have a policy in place where we do not allow students to not join an organization, or we do not allow students to join an organization that is not on their primary campus. So if you are coming to Statesboro and Statesboro is your primary campus this semester, you are only eligible to join a chapter on the Statesboro campus, and vice versa for Armstrong. That's just a piece that we want to make sure that there's some with traveling and things like that. We're trying to keep our students safe, and we want to make sure that they're joining the organization that is on their primary campus.
Awesome. So as we look at the experience that members will be having once they do become a part of the community, there's usually a new member, or also called an intake period, which lasts about 8 weeks during the beginning of the semester. The Interfraternity Council and Panhellenic Councils usually last the full 8 weeks. Some will be a little bit shorter, maybe around 6 to 7. And then the National Panhellenic Council and Multicultural Greek Council intake periods usually last about 4 to 8 weeks, in that range as well. Something that's really, really important to note is that all of the new member or intake processes must end the Sunday before finals begin. Typically, we'll see that they actually wrap up before students depart for Thanksgiving. And so this is definitely something to keep an eye on as you're communicating with your student. If you notice that there's some things happening, over the course of the winter break or maybe after Thanksgiving, that would definitely be something to follow up on, and just to know to ask those questions, which is why we tell you now that this is the length that period will be. And then also just in terms of general member education that's provided from our office perspective, obviously the students will be having all sorts of different education coming from their chapter, but from a broader perspective, all new members to our community have to complete 2 modules. And so the first is a hazing prevention module, which covers all sorts of information and resources about hazing prevention. So that's really important. And then the second is a general module with more information about the fraternity and sorority life community. And so that's just a base level requirement for everyone who is looking to become a member of the community.
So we know that dues is a very not great thing to talk about with some of our chapters. Nobody really likes to talk about money, but we need to address that. So we have taken an average of the first semester cost of dues from all of our councils. And so here you can see that Statesboro's average first semester cost is a range from $875 to $1,800. This typically is the most expensive semester for our first year or our first semester students who are joining an organization. It usually requires there's like a badge or a pin or a new member fee. So that's what they're paying for. There's usually some insurance that they're paying for within the umbrella of the organization. There's usually some new member fees, things like that. So typically your first semester is the most expensive. And Statesboro, why you're seeing such a higher number as well is if there's a house for that organization, your dues are going to be more expensive because you're paying for that property and that house that is on Greek Row. So then when we're looking at Armstrong, our averages range from $475 to $1,075. And again, this is an average of and a range of our chapters. So you can expect to pay somewhere in between there. It may be a little less or a little more. But we just like to make sure that people are aware of what they're getting into, because being in a fraternity or sorority is also a financial obligation. And we just want to make sure that you're aware of those costs associated as quickly as possible.
So when it comes to addressing behavior, we know, and you can turn and look at national news and see something with fraternities and sororities all the time. So one of the things that we've done is really to take a proactive approach to address behavior on our campus when it comes to addressing issues of hazing, sexual assaults, and all these things that typically are connected with fraternities and sorority communities. So a couple of things that we've done back in 2015, we kind of saw the writing on the wall. And at that point, we created a page within our website called Chapter Status. So at any point in time, you can go to that website and that page specifically and get to know what chapters are on academic probation, what chapters have been sanctioned through our Office of Student Conduct or their national headquarters. So that way you have a really good understanding of the behavioral pieces within that organization. Not only do we provide what current standings or sanctions are, we also provide a historical reference. So that way you can kind of see the issues that we've had with chapters prior, but also to the current environment here at Southern as well. So the other thing that we've done, going back to what Zita and Laura kind of hinted at already, when it comes to the grades, we publish a grade report every semester. And that's another great way for you to look at the health of a chapter. Typically, those chapters that are doing better academically have less issues when it comes to conduct behavior and things like that. So we know that for a fact. So again, that's another way that you can look at really what does that look like for that specific chapter my son or daughter might be interested in. So I think those are the type of things that you need to consider as you start this process and start having these conversations with your son or daughter to make sure that this is the right fit or the chapter is the right fit for her or him. So just some things to think about that we are providing. And again, all this information is on our website. All this is public information. We're not hiding anything. And that goes back to, for us, we want to make sure that we're being transparent with our parents, our incoming students, our community, to make sure that we all have a realistic understanding of what's currently happening within the community. The other thing that I would say is that we do the best that we can when it comes to partnering with national headquarters to address behaviors, because again, we them as partners in this equation, the same way that we see parents as part of this equation as well. So that's why parents are listed in this pie, because at the end of the day, the reality is we know that from a parent perspective, you will see or hear things from your son and daughter a lot quicker than we will from an office perspective, and that's where you as parents sometimes call the office and say, hey, my son is going through X, Y, and Z. I want you to address the behavior, but yet I'm not gonna give you information. I'm not gonna give you my name. I'm not gonna give you their name. I'm not even gonna give you the chapter, right? So I think that, again, when it comes to it, for us, we have no issues addressing the behavior, but we need to be able to articulate what exactly the issues are so we can then go to that chapter and have that conversation. And we need to bring in the national headquarters to have that conversation. Again, and we also partner with the Dean of Students Office to make sure that, again, we all are on the same page when it comes to how we are addressing the behavior that it's being put out there by that specific organization. So just know that, again, we are very proactive in that sense. And one of the things that we will continue to do is provide as much information as we can, so that way parents, students, the community is aware of the issues that we're having, but also how can we work together from a community perspective to make sure that we're addressing the behaviors that we're seeing within the community.
And then these are some additional dates for us from the office standpoint that are coming from our council. Again, we do have a little bit of a COVID update, so we'll just talk through this, and then Francisco will kind of go over that piece. But right now, so our dates for Panhellenic primary recruitment at Statesboro will be, the registration dates are open now. I'm sorry, registration link is open now and will close on July 31st, so the end of this month. Panhellenic recruitment is August 9th through 15th, and we'll talk about that. We'll go more into depth if your daughter wants to go through either Armstrong or Statesboro recruitment in the Panhellenic SOAR Live that we'll do next week. So we can talk all about that and those details then. And then IFC recruitment will be September 8th through the 17th. And our MPHC 101, so any students that want to potentially join a MPHC organization, they have to participate in MPHC 101. And then at Armstrong, we have a presentation which will be a part of the week of welcome. So August 26th, and we're going to do that via Zoom. And then Panhellenic recruitment registration is open now until September 9th. IFC recruitment will be August 31st through September 4th. MGC meet and greet, so just an open informational meeting, will be September 3rd that the council will host. And then Panhellenic recruitment will be September 9th through the 13th.
Awesome. So basically, it's going to what Laura was hinting at. So we have made the decision that every single recruitment that is done through one of our councils, it's going to be from a virtual setting or perspective. The reason behind that, again, is that the conditions on the ground here in Bullitt County are not conducive to doing an in-person recruitment process. Again, if you think about our Panhellenic primary recruitment, which happens before school starts, we bring in 100 or 600 plus women to that process on top of the members that are participating during the recruitment period itself. So again, we were topping about 700-ish women altogether, and that's not something that we feel is conducive to the environment that we are currently in. So in order to safeguard not only our incoming students, but our current students, we decided to move everything to a virtual setting. So this information basically applies more, what I'm about to talk through, to Penn primary recruitment or sorority recruitment here in Statesboro. So basically, this is the recruitment that happens the week before school starts. So a couple of things, updates there. Again, the schedule is going to be somewhat similar to what we have done in the past. We've tweaked the first day a little bit. So instead of having an in-person meeting with the chapters, the women going through the process will be looking at videos from each chapter, and that's how they're gonna make their first selection. And again, we're gonna dive a lot more deep into this in our meeting or SOAR Live next week, specifically for Penn. So I'm just gonna glance over it for now. So again, that's gonna be very different in that sense. However, with that said, one of the things that we are still gonna be doing for those women who are gonna be participating in sorority recruitment here in Statesboro is that they will be allowed to move in, or the option, we'll give them the option to move in Monday, August 10th. That is going to be that first Monday before school starts. The fee for early move-in is going to be $25. So basically, they will be charged, or you will be charged $50 to the student account, and that's something housing is going to take care of on their end. So we will be providing them a list of all the women, and they will identify those that are living on campus, and then they will assign that way. So if you are not able to move in on Monday, August 10th, the normal move-in for all students will start Wednesday, August 12th. So again, that would be your next opportunity. The way housing is setting that up is that there's going to be time slots for people to come in and sign up to be able to move in. So that, again, that's something that is their housing process. One of the things that we are going to be doing for those women going through this process, we're going to be doing an actual orientation to be able to navigate through all this stuff that they need to do in order to get ready to be here or participate in this virtual setting. With that said, one of the things that we know right now is that housing has a waiting list. So we are being very mindful of that, because again, if your daughter is not able to get a space in one of the housing options here in Statesboro, more than likely not, she will be assigned to a housing option at the Armstrong campus, which would require her to move her primary campus to the Armstrong campus, which would not make her eligible to go through the primary recruitment here in Statesboro. So we are keeping a running list on this as well to make sure that we identify those women that are on our waiting list, to make sure that we work with housing to make sure that that housing arrangement is done before recruitment starts. Again, if at some point that happens, again, unfortunately, your daughter will not be allowed to go through that form of recruitment here in the Statesboro campus, just because, again, like Laura said, once that your daughter becomes part of that chapter, the expectation is that they will have to meet here in Statesboro. So we have concerns about the travel in between I-16 on both campuses. So that's why we have that policy in place, that you can only join a chapter based on your primary campus. The other thing that we also know from having conversations with dining is that meal plans will start on August 10th. So again, that will also apply to Dining Commons and Lakeside. So those will be the options for your daughter to be able to eat during the time that she's here on campus as well. So we just want to make sure that we're providing this update again, and we're going to be going a lot more in depth on all this fun stuff in our SOAR Lives that we will be hosting next week. So just know that that's really a really superficial touch point on this on purpose, because we are going to dive more in depth into those specific presentations that we'll host next week. So with that said, that's the last slide we have. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter on this chat. So I'm providing you a couple of things. I'm providing you the link to our website. I'm providing you the link to the page that has SOAR information, where all the next Soror Lives that we will be hosting next week. All the information is listed there. And then I'm also providing a link to our Facebook group page that we created, so you can again join that group and ask any questions you might have after this presentation, if that's something that it happens, so that way we can make sure that we are addressing any concerns that you might have from your perspective. So with that said, I'm going to go and start looking at these questions that some of you have already submitted. So the first question is, what additional costs and the amount of those costs can be expected in addition to dues? Are dues still required to pay dues if Georgia Southern sends students home due to COVID? So basically, that's really, I'm going to answer the last question first and then go back. So basically, if and when the university decides to go to a virtual setting or hybrid setting, that's really going to be depending on the chapter and the national organization, whether or not they're going to do reimbursements, if they're going to do prorate rates on dues. So that's something that we do not handle as an office. Again, we when it comes to the chapter financials, that's really a chapter specific thing based on also the organizational that they answer to as well. So we don't manage any of that financial pieces. But again, at the end of the day, what I can say is that even if we look at what happened last semester when we had to go to a virtual setting, I know that a lot of our groups did do refunds or did partial refunds on dues or housing pieces that they had paid. So we know that that's going to happen. When it comes to additional costs the chapter is doing, so again, I don't have a running list of what that looks like for every chapter, because again, every chapter does things differently every semester, right? So one semester they might be holding a formal, the other semester they might be doing a semi-formal. They may not be able to host a formal or semi-formal at all because of money constraints, right? So that's really going to be very specific. What I can tell you is that every chapter does have a payment plan option. So really that's a conversation your son or daughter can engage in that conversation through the recruitment process and ask the specific questions about what's the average cost, what additional costs are coming. So again, when it comes to our chapters, they might have a set fee that is nominal, or they might have something more at as the pay to play kind of thing, or a la carte options that, again, if you want to go to the formal, this is how much you have to pay in addition to your base dues and things like that. So that's something that, again, is, like I said earlier, is due to specific to every chapter. So yeah, so that's answering those questions that we have on the chat. A couple of things that I will also bring up that I know some people ask is, when is the right time to join one of these chapters? At the end of the day, we don't advocate for one option or the other. I think that our main thing is that it's really when your son or daughter is ready to join. We know that, again, there's enough research out there that says it's good to join an organization that first semester, because you get to meet people, you get to acclimate to the university environment. But there's also research out there that says it might be a good idea to wait to your second semester freshman year or even your sophomore year to join one of these groups in order for you to get a better acquainted and acclimated to the university environment. So again, it's really, at the end of the day, it's an individual's choice. Again, I joined as a junior and I had an awesome fraternity experience. So really it's up to your son and daughter to define that for themselves as well. So that's something that we will help the students figure that out and navigate that and ask questions about, again, what are the things I'm looking at. I can also say, when it comes to the time commitment too, we look at it from the perspective as if they're taking an additional 3 credit course hour class that would add to that. So again, if your son daughter is already coming in with 12 credits, just add as if you're adding another class where now you're having a schedule of 15 credit hours throughout the week. And what does that look like when it comes to the time commitment, and can they function at that pace, if that makes sense? So just know that there's really no right answer to that. I think that we support our students no matter what decision they make. But it's also making sure that we debunk the myth that it has to be done that first semester freshman, because it's not the reality. Another question that came in, what about fraternity rush? So Zita, Laura, do you guys want to answer those from that campus perspective?
Sure, yeah, I can talk about the Statesboro campus. So similarly to what was mentioned at the very beginning, those recruitment processes are all moving online. So Statesboro Interfraternity Council recruitment is currently scheduled to be from September 8th through September 17th. That might change just a little bit here and there because of the modifications that we're making to move everything online. But the registration link is available on the website under the Interfraternity Council recruitment page. So if you navigate to the office website link that Francisco shared, you should be able to get there no problem. And the registration fee is $25, and that'll be open through September 7th. So if your son is still thinking about it, mulling over it, they've got plenty of time.
And very similarly to at Armstrong, our process is just a little bit different. So again, we're encouraging everybody to sign up and register for IFC recruitment. You'll go same way, but you'll go to the IFC Interfraternity Council at Armstrong page on our website. You'll register there, and that fee is $10. But we are going to do it a little differently and have more of a informal process for our fraternity recruitment, where the chapters will more than likely reach out to the members that are interested and kind of help facilitate from an office standpoint of helping to provide some names and things like that. Again, we're just trying to limit our exposure with COVID and all of that and keeping our students safe. So that's why our recruitment process is going to look a little bit different than it normally would this semester.
So the other question that we typically get answered is things about houses here in Statesboro. So just a quick note on that. We do not own any houses. So we do have a Greek Row, which is Olympic Boulevard. But again, that's not university property. Those houses are not owned by the university. Those are owned by housing corporations or their international office. With that said, the reality is that because these students are Georgia Southern students, and because these organizations are registered student organizations, we are able to still hold them accountable of what happens in that space. So the other thing when it comes to those houses is that they might seem big. However, the biggest house, or the house with the biggest capacity, is only 20 rooms, right? So again, they're large because their chapter room is large, because the average chapter size for IFC or fraternities is about 55-ish. And the average size for sorority chapters that have houses is about 196. So that's why the properties are big. So just know that again, that's going to vary by chapter. The other thing is that as an incoming freshman, your son or daughter will not be required to live on campus or on that properties or those properties. So just that's something that you don't need to worry about, just because Georgia Southern has that first year live on requirement. But with that said, eventually your son or daughter will have the option to live there. Typically, the main people that live in those houses are chapter leadership, and then people who want to live on camp or on those in those properties. So just know that again, it's not something that all the chapter will be living in that space. Any questions or concerns, anything that we went through that you guys want more clarity on? I'm going to move this over. So again, these are going to be our schedules for the next SOAR Lives that we'll have for each council. So one of the things that we did this year in order to better organize these presentations is where basically we are going to talk about all our fraternities or IFC fraternities at one setting, because again, the process is very similar. So we're going to do that similarly to every other council as well. So again, the IFC council, our next SOAR Live session will be July 20th. The next National Panhellenic or Multicultural Greek Council will be July 21st. And then our College Panhellenic Association will be July 23rd. So again, we were very intentional in clumping these together because again, their processes are a lot similar. And instead of bugging down with specifics and trying to understand the differences between them, we decided to couple the ones that are similar with each other to make it easier on everybody. And in that way, we can also go more in depth on the actual processes that are unique to these organizations, as your son or daughter seeks membership in these organizations. Anything I didn't cover? Laura, Zita? Cool. So again, with that said, we will wrap this up. Like I said, if you have any questions, any concerns, feel free to reach out. Again, a lot of the information is coming through our social media. Our councils are also sharing a lot of the information through their social media accounts as well. Our website, again, is up to date. So if there's any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out that and use that as a resource. There's other things here that you can go into as far as more in-depth information as well. And then here you can also see what chapters are under each council. That way it'll help you define what organizations or what presentations you will attend next week. So just know that, again, there's a lot of content on this site or page. So just make sure you do that. And then if not, you can always join the Facebook group and ask those questions there as well to make sure that we are addressing any concerns, any questions, especially as we move to a virtual setting. I know that there's been a lot of questions about what that process looks like moving forward. So we want to be able to make sure that we're able to provide you as parents enough information. That way, when your son and daughter is asking, you are able to be a resource to them as well. So just another way to just close that loop, making sure that everybody has the correct information. But with that said, if there's no other questions, again, I appreciate your time and we will see you next week.